The hotel room's artificial yellow light hums above, almost as a reminder of the mundanity I've let myself sink into. For years now, it's been the same. City after city, hotel after hotel, each one blending into the next. The excitement of business trips had worn off years ago, leaving only a consistent ache of ennui in its place. I stare at the minibar for far too long before settling on a bottle of bourbon, the three miniatures already lined up next to it, echoing back at me like old friends turned foes. I slide the cap off and take a straight gulp, feeling the burn crawl down my throat and settle warm in my chest. It helps, but only just. My laptop sits open on the desk, the screen filled with work that should demand my attention. Instead, my eyes drift to the window, watching cars blur by below. It's like I'm on the outside, looking in, always one step removed. A stranger in every hotel, a visitor in my own life. There's always a moment, usually about halfway through the second bottle, where the haze of alcohol starts to blur the edges of my thoughts, softening the iron grip of my calculated mind. That's when the idea hits. It's reckless, stupid even, but I can't shake it. A wry smile tugs at the corner of my mouth. Maybe that's exactly why I should do it. Before the thought can fully solidify, I reach for my laptop, pushing the reports aside. My fingers hover over the keys, hesitating as the weight of what I'm about to do settles in. Of course, there's no real consequence here, just another anonymous post on a site known for this kind of thing. And yet, the air feels thick, the silence louder. I type it out quickly, not letting myself overthink it, because I know damn well that's what I'll do. Overthink until I convince myself not to. That's always been my curse, strategy to a fault. But this doesn't fit into any strategy. This is pure impulse, and somehow that feels refreshing. Title: Looking for something new. Content: 39M, traveling business professional into exploring new experiences. Let's pick out some toys together at a shop, then head back to my hotel room. I watch, you enjoy. We both get something out of this. I read it over twice, fingers itching to delete, to back out, and return to the safety of monotony. But instead, I hit post, and it's out there, live in the ether, a confession and a challenge wrapped in anonymity. The bourbon hits harder now, the flush creeping up my neck. I close the laptop and drop onto the bed. My heart pounds harder in my chest, not from fear, but from something far more complicated. A mix of guilt, excitement, and an oddly liberating sense of rebellion. I've broken some barrier tonight, crossed a line that I can't quite define. I sink back against the pillows, eyes trained on the ceiling, wondering what happens next. I woke up with a pounding headache, the bourbon from last night still lingering in my system. As I fumbled for my phone to silence the alarm, memories of what I'd done came flooding back. That ad, fuck, what was I thinking? I dragged myself through my morning routine, trying to push aside the mix of shame and excitement churning in my gut. By the time I reached the office, I'd almost convinced myself it was just a drunken mistake, nothing would come of it. But then my phone buzzed during a meeting. I glanced down, expecting another pointless email. Instead, I saw a notification from the classified site. My heart skipped a beat. As soon as I could duck out, I found a quiet corner and opened the message with trembling fingers. Hey there. I'm Kara, 25. Your ad caught my eye. I'm intrigued and would love to know more. Coffee after work? I stared at the screen, my mouth suddenly dry. This was real. Someone had actually responded, and not just anyone, a young woman. Part of me wanted to delete the whole thing and pretend it never happened, but a stronger part was already typing back. Hi, Kara. Thanks for reaching out. I'm James. Coffee sounds great. How about we meet at the Red Door around 6? I hit send before I could overthink it. Within minutes, she replied, Perfect. Looking forward to it, James. The rest of the day passed in a blur. I went through the motions in meetings, my mind constantly drifting to Kara. What did she look like? What made her interested in my ad? Was this all a terrible idea? By the time 5:30 rolled around, my nerves were shot. I loosened my tie as I walked to the Red Door, a trendy bar not far from my hotel. I arrived early, claiming a small table in the corner. My leg bounced nervously as I nursed a whiskey, eyes darting to the door every time it opened. Just as I was about to chicken out and bolt, she walked in. Holy shit. Kara was stunning, petite with long black hair and these deep brown eyes that seemed to see right through me. She carried herself with this effortless confidence that immediately drew me in. "James?" she asked with a slight smirk, like she already knew the answer. I stood up a bit too quickly, nearly knocking over my drink. "That's me. You must be Kara." Smooth, real smooth. She slid onto the bar stool next to me, her knee briefly brushing against mine. "Nice to meet you. Hope I didn't keep you waiting too long." "No, not at all," I lied, trying to play it cool. "Can I get you a drink?" "Gin and tonic, please." As I signaled the bartender, Kara turned to face me fully. "So, James, what made you decide to post that ad?" I felt my face flush. Honestly, I was drunk and feeling restless, I guess. Didn't think anyone would actually respond. She laughed, a warm, infectious sound. "Well, aren't you glad I did?" Our drinks arrived, and we fell into surprisingly easy conversation. Kara was quick-witted and funny, with this playful edge that kept me on my toes. I found myself opening up more than I had in years. "So, what do you do when you're not meeting strange men from the internet?" I asked, taking a sip of my bourbon. Kara grinned. "I'm a freelance graphic designer. It gives me the freedom to pursue other interests." The way she said it sent a shiver down my spine. "And what about you, Mr. Mysterious? Let me guess. Finance? Law?" "Marketing, actually. Not nearly as exciting as it sounds." She leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "I don't know. I think you might be more exciting than you let on. Most guys don't have the balls to post an ad like that." I felt a rush of heat at her words and proximity. "Maybe I'm full of surprises." "I certainly hope so," Kara replied, her eyes glinting mischievously. We bantered back and forth, the sexual tension building with each loaded glance and accidental touch. I couldn't remember the last time I'd felt this alive, this present in the moment. After about an hour, Kara set down her empty glass and fixed me with an intense stare. "So, James, are we really going to do this?" My heart raced. This was it, the moment of truth. "I'm game if you are," I heard myself say, surprising even myself with my boldness. A slow smile spread across Kara's face. "In that case, I have an idea. There's a little shop I found earlier, not far from here. What do you say we go pick out a toy or two?" I nearly choked on my drink. "You mean, like, right now?" "No time like the present," she said with a wink, already standing up. "Unless you're having second thoughts?" I stood up, my legs feeling slightly unsteady. No second thoughts. Lead the way." As we stepped out into the cool night air, I felt a surge of adrenaline. This was really happening. Kara linked her arm through mine, sending sparks of electricity through my body. "It's just a few blocks this way," she said, guiding me down the sidewalk. I glanced around nervously, half expecting to see someone I knew, but the streets were relatively quiet, just a few other couples and groups of friends enjoying the evening. "Relax," Kara said, squeezing my arm gently. "No one knows what we're up to. For all they know, we're just a normal couple out for a stroll." I took a deep breath, trying to calm my nerves. "You're right. Sorry, I'm just not used to this." She laughed softly. "That's kind of the point, isn't it? To try something new?" As we walked, I found myself studying Kara's profile. She was even more beautiful up close. High cheekbones, full lips, a small cluster of freckles across her nose. I was struck by how at ease she seemed, like this was the most natural thing in the world. "So, have you done this before?" I asked, curiosity getting the better of me. Kara glanced up at me, a hint of amusement in her eyes. "Met up with strangers from Craigslist? No, can't say that I have, but I'm always up for an adventure." "What made you respond to my ad?" She was quiet for a moment, considering. "Honestly, there was something about the way you wrote it. It wasn't sleazy or aggressive like most of those ads. It felt genuine, like you were really putting yourself out there." I felt a warmth spread through my chest at her words. "I'm glad you took a chance on me." "Me too," she said softly, leaning into me slightly as we walked. We turned a corner, and I saw a small storefront up ahead with a discreet sign reading, adult novelties. My stomach did a little flip. Kara must have sensed my hesitation because she stopped, turning to face me. Hey, we don't have to do anything you're not comfortable with. We can turn around right now if you want. I looked into her eyes, seeing nothing but warmth and understanding there. In that moment, I made a decision. I was tired of playing it safe, of always being the responsible one. For once in my life, I wanted to take a risk. No, I said firmly. I want to do this, with you. A brilliant smile lit up Kara's face. Well then, she said, taking my hand and pulling me towards the shop. Let's go have some fun. The doorbell jingled as Kara pushed it open, leading us into the dimly lit store. Neon lights buzzed overhead, casting a pinkish hue on rows of neatly arranged, well, everything. My pulse pounded in my ears as I followed her inside, the door closing with a soft click behind me. The place reeked of daring, the air thick with potential rather than anything tangible. We stood together in front of the first aisle, the silence stretching between us, hanging like a pause before something you can't take back. Let's see what they got, Kara broke the quiet, a teasing lilt in her voice as she turned her head to glance at me, those deep brown eyes sparkling with a challenge. She moved ahead first, hips swaying confidently, flipping over toys in their boxes like she had all the time in the world. There was something about the way Kara moved through the shop, her fingertips brushing items lightly, thoughtfully, as if she was reading each one like it held a secret. She picked up a bright purple banana, twisting it between her small fingers with an almost clinical curiosity, before holding it up to me without so much as glancing in my direction. What do you think? Her voice was casual, like she was asking my opinion on a set of dinnerware. I cleared my throat, feeling heat creeping up the back of my neck. It looks good. She smirked, finally nodding as if she'd gotten exactly the response she was after, then placed the banana into the little basket she'd snagged at the entrance. We'll go with this one. Her pace was deliberate as she moved to another section. She studied clamps next, hesitating before picking up a set. She ran her thumb over the cold metal, her eyebrow raising. These are interesting, she murmured, showing them to me, like a teacher presenting an unruly class project. Interesting, I echoed, trying to keep my voice steady. Kara grinned at me, clearly enjoying the effect this was having on me. She took her time with the clamps, holding them up, mimicking what they might look like on skin before carefully adding them to our growing collection. Each item she picked seemed more intimate, more suggestive, and with every choice, the air between us grew heavier. The anticipation was thick, pulling at my every nerve. I was like a tightly wound spring, tension coiling tighter and tighter the further we went. A small backyard plug between her fingers interrupted my thoughts. Kara held it up near her face, her lips curling in a way that sent a cold burn straight to my gut. Her eyebrows went up, wordlessly asking the question this time. We could try that. My words came with a slight rasp, and I wasn't sure if it betrayed a more primal side of me, or if that was just wishful thinking on my part. Her faint chuckle was like a brush of wings over my skin. She added it to our pile and moved to a more secluded corner of the shop, her steps fluid but filled with purpose. We ended up in front of a display of handcuffs, lined up with different materials, stainless steel, leather, even plush velvet. Kara picked up a pair of cold metal cuffs, twisting the keys around her index finger thoughtfully. She said nothing this time, just locked eyes with me as she dangled them between us. Old school, but it works, I murmured. She hummed, seemingly pleased, and dropped them into the basket. We circled the shop like that for what felt like hours, and yet it was probably just minutes. Every choice she made, each item dropping into the basket, was a tiny shovel digging deeper into something neither of us could see the bottom of. When Kara finally sauntered toward the register, her confidence sent shivers down my spine yet again. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding when she set the basket down and leaned against the counter, smiling as the cashier began ringing up the toys, no hint of hesitance in her demeanor. And there I was, standing next to her, trying my best to seem composed, even though every minute that ticked by pulled us closer to whatever was going to happen next. As we left the store, clutching our plain black bag, no branding, no fanfare, I couldn't help but take a quick glance at Kara. Her face was a perfectly crafted mask of nonchalance, though the way she fiddled with the handles of the bag told another story. This was no simple errand for her either. There was excitement tinged with nerves, a mirrored energy that had my chest tightening with something I dared not name. We barely spoke on the walk back. Everything between us felt electric, unspoken, like any attempt to comment on what we were carrying would break the spell. The reality of what we were about to do was wrapped up in anticipation and nerves, unraveling with every step that brought us closer to the hotel. In the room, the story was different. The sterile blandness of the space was a stark contrast to the heat building between us. I dropped the key card on the small table by the door, listening to the click of the door shutting behind Kara. Christ, she made something as simple as that enticing. We stood there, both of us almost comically aware of the damn bag in my hand. She was the one to laugh first, a soft music box sound that eased some of the tension, though not by much. "Don't look so serious, James," her voice coaxed like velvet as she leaned in, fingers ghosting over the bag's handles. "We're supposed to be having fun." I huffed out a breath, unsure whether to lean in or take a step back. Fuck it, one step closer. I handed the bag over, watching her like she might vanish if I blinked. Kara bit her lip, then nodded toward the bed. "Why don't we see what we got here?" She carefully emptied the contents of the bag onto the duvet, laying every item out as if this were some sacred ritual. Each new toy added a new layer of tension until the very air seemed to throb with our unspoken intent. We moved around each other mechanically at first, taking stock, assessing items we'd only seen in packaging until now. "You want a drink?" I muttered, finally breaking the awkward silence. I wanted to keep my hands busy, to do something that delayed the inevitable, even for just another minute. "Sure," she said, almost too quickly. I could see that same nervousness in her too, but when I handed her a glass, she downed it in seconds and set the empty tumbler on the nightstand with more force than necessary. "Maybe," she whispered, eyes lowering to her lap for the shortest breath, then darting up to lock with mine. "Maybe you could help with this too." Her fingers lightly hovered over the strap of her dress. My mouth ran dry. I may have nodded. I'm not even sure anymore. But I certainly moved closer, running my hands from her shoulders down her arms, feeling the goosebumps that had risen under my palms. She let out a sigh, barely audible yet profound in its simplicity. I let my hands ease up her sides, finding the tiny zipper hidden in the folds of expensive material. As I pulled the zipper down the length of her back, Kara reached for my arms, steadying herself. Her breath hitched, her body instinctively arching into the slow movement of the fabric peeling away from her. The dress pooled at her feet, leaving her standing in a set of black lace lingerie that stole my words. Exquisitely delicate, pure in how it traced her figure, accentuating everything beneath effortlessly. She opened her eyes to study my face, and we were inches apart now, the gravity between us undeniable. The toys on the bed faded into the periphery, their presence felt but not seen, overshadowed by the living, breathing moment hanging between us. Finally, Kara broke the silence. "Why don't we start slow?" she whispered, as gentle as a lover's breath. She picked up the purple banana with one hand, her other lightly brushing my forearm, still resting against her side. Her confidence surged forward, breaking through the shyness that had tried to seep in only moments before. She drew me to the edge of the bed as she switched it on. The low buzzing filled the room, but it was as though our attention was curiously drawn inward, within the small universe we'd created. She settled back against the pillows, legs parting slowly, drawing her knees up. When her eyes landed on me, they were filled with something hungry, the earlier nerves burning off like morning mist under the sun's rise. "You want to watch?" she asked, but the question was rhetorical. Her hand found its way, and I swallowed hard, sitting down on the bed beside her. My throat was tight, pulse thundering against the walls of this fragile silence, but I nodded again, the strange energy coursing through me, guilty anticipation, warped into something more primal. Kara was a picture of patience, almost like she was drawing the whole thing out, just for the synchronicity of our breath against the anticipation hanging between us. My chest tightened as I watched her, utterly transfixed. This wasn't just the fun of the banana, but control. The way she'd held my gaze, the way she wanted me to see her unspooling, unraveled at the seams by her own hand. Then, as if compelled by something unsaid, she paused, the toy lingering on her skin long enough to stir the early echoes of ecstasy. She tilted her head, her eyes darting to the cuffs, nipping at her full lips in a small telltale of indecision. "Kara," I began, unable to hold my words any longer, the insistence of what she was showing luring me deeper into a command I wasn't sure I could follow. Her gaze finally wavered as she exhaled shakily. "I need your help with the others." There was a surrender in her voice, a rare thing that passed only between the two of us now. She handed me the banana, trembling but still, her silhouette filled with the last of the sunlight remaining in the room. Stealing my nerves, I reached for the cuffs slowly, as if they held the weight of something more than just what they were made to perform. They clicked shut around each of her slender wrists as she held them out willingly, arms extended over the pillows, as the action felt like letting go of the last remnants of doubt. The metal was cold and secure, binding her to stakes unseen, but mutually agreed upon. "I trust you," Kara whispered, finally fully vulnerable, her lashes hot against her cheeks. The words hit me harder than any touch. Those 3 words ignited something, adding fuel to the already roaring fire in my veins. Time slipped away, the world narrowing down to the stretch of fabric beneath us, the press of warm skin, the muted hum of pleasure pulsing between each choice. Every moment, every choice became something more. It wasn't just about seeing this unfold, it was feeling the heat climbing, the connection weaving like tendons wrapping tighter until we were both anchored together in this raw, unedited reality. There was no control anymore, not in any sense that mattered. It was both release and capture from every edge we had balanced upon. It was more than desire, more than just overwhelming need. It was Kara, offering and me claiming, not just pieces of this time we had together, but each other, unfiltered, stripped of the walls we'd so carefully built before walking into this shop. Oh, the moments they carried us through, moments of grasping hands through restraints, shivers working into tight muscles as toys moved from her hands to mine, matching the cries for more that echoed through 4 walls and compact spaces. No words followed that finale, but a rawness taking shape, a connection that defied the osmotic rules of desire and distrust. We ended where individual boundaries faltered, finding within the moment something far beyond what has simply been expected, or what could have been driven back into the world of what-ifs and restrained confessions. When the final echoes finally slipped silent, breaths steadying out in tandem, the world stopped. Just for that moment, the hum evened out into something more primal, something deeper than just anticipatory nerves, the two of us understanding that truth. I lay there, my breath finally steadying, staring at the ceiling. The room was quiet, save for the soft hum of the air conditioner. Kara's warmth beside me felt comforting, almost familiar, despite the newness of it all. "Wow," Kara whispered, breaking the silence. I turned my head to look at her. Her hair was tousled, spread out on the pillow like a dark halo. She met my gaze, a mix of vulnerability and wonder in her eyes. I didn't expect this," she continued, her voice soft. "When I answered that ad, I thought it'd be just a fun night, you know. But this..." She trailed off, gesturing vaguely between us. I nodded, understanding exactly what she meant. "Yeah, I know what you mean. I didn't expect it either." She propped herself up on an elbow, facing me. "It's weird, right? I feel like I've known you longer than just a few hours." I chuckled, the sound coming out a bit shakier than I intended. "Definitely weird. Good weird, though." Kara smiled, reaching out to trace a pattern on my chest with her finger. The simple touch sent a shiver through me. "Very good weird," she agreed. I caught her hand in mine, intertwining our fingers. It was such an intimate gesture, more so than anything we'd done earlier. "I've never done anything like this before," I admitted. "I'm usually, well, let's just say spontaneity isn't my strong suit." She laughed softly. "Could have fooled me. You seemed pretty adventurous tonight." I felt a warmth creep up my neck. "I guess you bring it out in me." We fell silent again, but it wasn't awkward. It felt right, comfortable, like we'd created our own little bubble, separate from the rest of the world. After a while, Kara spoke again. James? Her voice was hesitant. Do you think, would you want to maybe see each other again? Outside of this hotel room, I mean. I turned to face her fully, studying her face. There was a hint of nervousness there, a vulnerability that made my heart skip a beat. I realized I was feeling the same way. Yeah, I said, surprised by how much I meant it. Yeah, I'd like that. Her smile was radiant. Good, because I think this might be the start of something interesting. I couldn't help but smile back. Interesting, huh? I like the sound of that. I like the sound of that. I like the sound of that. I like